There is something that I do that saves my family thousands of dollars, and that is so important considering we are living on one income. Every penny matters, so making sure that I do everything I can to save us money is very important. There are many things that I do throughout the year to help save my family money, but this one thing does save us thousands of dollars, and that is learning how to preserve our own food. Food that is bought in stores comes at a premium. Not only does the price you pay for the overhead of the grocery store, for the transportation to get that food there, for the manpower involved, it is also typically laden with chemicals, with pesticides, with preservatives, all the extra bits. So I much prefer to buy local, buy in season, and then learn how to preserve it myself. Now, of course, the most local I can get is food that I grow in my own backyard, or in this case, my front yard. I have taken up a lot of space in our suburban lot to grow as much food as I possibly can, and I grow this all without spraying or without using any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that. So it is completely spray-free, chemical-free, pesticide-free, all organic. Then this is also the freshest produce that we're going to get because I can pick it and preserve it right away. I preserve many different things for my family, and that might be applesauce, jam, to stewed meats and full meals. But today, my grapes are ripe, and we have a lot of them. Right now, I am just picking from my front yard vines. I also have backyard vines that I need to get to, so we do have a lot of grapes. I have already been out and have done half of these grapevines, and I got 5 bags of grapes frozen already. So those will be saved for jams and jellies and that sort of thing. As for these grapes, they are destined to be made into grape juice. So I know all over the internet, the way to do grape juice is to throw all of your grapes into the jar, or fill your jar a quarter filled with grapes and then do water and just can it that way. And that seems to be the popular method right now. It isn't considered the safe method, however. Now, I really don't have a problem with the Rebel canning. I've actually done this preservation method of grapes in the past as well. However, I do find that I like the Ball Book method of canning grape juice a little bit better because when you just have the grapes in the jar, you have to strain them out every single time you use a jar. Where when I do it this way, I can just open a jar and go. I just strain them out all at the beginning, and then I don't have to worry about straining them out again. So this will definitely be the way I do juice from now on. Grape juice is so good for you, especially this fresh grape juice. It's full of antioxidants and really great properties for your body. It's anti-inflammatory, and it just does a lot of good things for you. So I like to make sure that I have lots of this on hand, especially throughout flu season, as it has been said that grape juice is really great if you happen to have the flu. So it can help out with your stomach issues sometimes. So I do like to have some grape juice on hand. If you've ever done grapes before, you know how tedious it is to de-stem all of those grapes. I don't worry about the little bits of stem that are on there, just the bigger stems I like to get out of there just because they take up so much room. So I do de-stem them, and this takes a good couple of hours to do. After that, I fill them with a little bit of filtered water just to cover the grapes up. And then I let them boil for a half an hour until all those juices have come out. After that, I strain them and I get them into my jars right up to a 1/4 inch headspace. I then water bath can these for 15 minutes, and it brings out these lovely jars of grape juice. So this will not be the only time that I am doing grape juice. As I said, I have lots of grapes in my backyard, so I will be back there picking those shortly and doing some more grape juice. Another thing that I like to preserve throughout the growing season is greens. A lot of people don't really think of greens as something that they need to preserve, but I love to have greens throughout the winter in my stir fries and soups and that sort of thing. And buying them at the grocery store, especially throughout winter, I cannot find any Canadian greens. They are all shipped in from the US. And I much prefer to support local, especially when considering the environment. I hate having to buy things that have been shipped so far. So I much prefer to have especially my own local greens because, again, everything in store is typically sprayed, where the greens that I have in my own backyard are grown fully organically. Like they say, if you don't have holes in your greens or in your lettuce, then you're not a part of the ecosystem. So you need to have bugs in your garden. So I do not mind having those holes in my kale. It means that I have a healthy ecosystem back there. So I just give these a quick rinse just to make sure there's no dirt or bugs hanging out on my kale, because as much as I don't mind the bugs, I also don't wish to eat them. So I'm just making sure there's nothing on there. Then I'm going to take the greens off the stems, and I just rip the greens up into bite-sized pieces so that I'm not worried about great big hunks in my soup or in my stir fries once I've defrosted these and put them in there in the winter. Now, I'm definitely not getting rid of these stems. We are going to keep those stems and toss them in a bag in our freezer so that I've got them to throw in broths later on. So for greens, we just need to blanch them for 2 minutes just to get that chemical compound out to keep them from going all sludgy. Some vegetables need to be blanched and some do not, but kale and any greens are definitely ones that need to be blanched first. Now, don't be like me and toss out all of this beautiful kale water. I 100% meant to put a bowl under my sieve there, and I totally forgot. So I ended up dumping down all that water. But you can take that kale water and put it in ice cube trays and toss it into your freezer, and then you have this lovely kale water to add to broths and things like that in the future. So don't dump that out like I did. That's wasting an opportunity. I do make sure that I am rinsing this kale with cold water just to stop the cooking process. And then I take it and stuff it into muffin tins so that I have little cups of greens frozen, and I can just pick out one at a time to toss into things like stir fries and soups. So after I get these stuffed into my muffin tins, I'm going to go ahead and put it in a freezer, let it freeze overnight, and then put it in a Ziploc bag and then put it back in my freezer for later. Greens, especially organic greens, can be so incredibly expensive, so having the ones that I have grown all my own and having greens in the freezer for free saves a lot of money in the long run. Now it is tomato season here. We are slowly getting lots of tomatoes in, so I have been sticking them in freezer bags and putting them in my freezer. And then I saw a sale on Roma tomatoes that I hopped on so that I could make some tomato sauce. The tomato sauce in the stores typically has a lot of extra preservatives in it, as well as extra sugar, and I find that completely unnecessary, not to mention that I just love the taste of our homegrown, home-preserved tomato sauce, and I can do it at a fraction of the price. So it is a win-win-win for us there. I start off by taking my tomatoes and getting them in a pot, and then chopping up a couple of onions and getting them in the pot as well. And I will add tomatoes as these boil down, because I will simmer these tomatoes, and as they release the water, I will dump the water and continue to simmer them. I have a lot of basil growing in my backyard, and I absolutely adore basil with tomato sauce. So I make sure I grab a great big handful and toss it in there with them, as well as a couple teaspoons of salt. Tomatoes hold a lot of water, so they do need to simmer for quite a bit. So I do let mine simmer for a couple of hours, and like I said, I just go back and dump out the water that accumulates with these tomatoes so that I can have a nice thick sauce. Ideally, I prefer to buy my produce at local markets or again grow my own. However, on occasion, the store will have really good sales on, and my store did have a good sale on these tomatoes, and they were Ontario tomatoes, so that was just a sell for me, so I made sure to grab a case of them. After these have been simmering for a bit, I'm going to go ahead and get them through my food mill. When I put them through this food mill, the food mill will take out the skins and the seed, but let the pulp of the tomato go through into the sauce. So I just go through both of my pots and mill through all of the tomatoes. I'm going to take a moment here and thank the sponsor of this video, and that is Janice Munro. Janice is a friend and member over on my other creator page, which is Patreon. On Patreon, I have members that help to support me over here, and it really helps to make everything I do here possible. So thank you so much to my Patreon members. Over on that page, I also do a lot of extra content, and that could be extra blog posts, extra frugal lists of things for you to get to help you save money at home, as well as budget tutorial videos of meals that you can make to help you save some extra money. If you're interested in any of that, I will leave the link for that in the description box. And thank you also to all of you beautiful YouTube subscribers and anybody who has stayed to watch. Your viewership also really helps to support me, and any comments or action on the page, like liking this video, is a huge support. So thank you all as well. Tomato sauce is something that we go through a lot of during the year for different things like pastas or chilies or lasagnas, things like that. So I like to make sure that I have a lot of it, which means this again will not be the only day that I am preserving tomato sauce. There will be many more days to come where I am preserving some of this, but I like to get our tomatoes out of the freezer and use them up as soon as I can so I can make space for other things in there. If you're looking to learn how to preserve food for your family in order to save some money, make sure you follow my channel. I have an entire playlist on canning and preserving. I can link that in the comments for you if you'd like to check it out, as I have a lot of recipes there to help you out. Once I am done running through all of these tomatoes in the food mill, I'm going to go ahead and get all of my sauce back in a pot and put it back on the stovetop for a little while longer on low, just to simmer off a little bit more of that water so I can make a nice thick tomato sauce. And while that's simmering, I'm going to go ahead and get my canner ready. I'm going to fill it with some water. I do put a little bit of vinegar in that water just to make sure that I don't get any calcium deposits on my jars. And I'm going to get my jars in there to help sterilize them. Now, I am not going to be wasting any of these skins from my tomatoes. These are the discards after I put the tomatoes through the food mill. And I am absolutely not going to waste any of these. So I spread them out on a dehydrator sheet, and I am going to dehydrate these for at least 24 hours, possibly 48, depends on how long it takes to get to a nice crispy state. I'm going to throw it through a blender, and this will make a nice tomato powder that I can add to recipes later on. Once my sauce is ready to can, I'm going to go ahead and get my sterilized jars out. Now I am going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each of my quart jars. You do need this lemon juice to make your tomato sauce safe when you are canning it. Again, I know there is a debate over this. However, for me, I have entirely too much anxiety to not put the lemon juice in and then just guess whether it's going to be safe or not. So I make sure I put my lemon juice in. Then I'm going to go ahead and fill these jars up until there is a 1/2 inch headspace. I wipe the rims typically with a little vinegar on a cloth just to make the rims, make sure the rims of my glass are completely clean. This makes sure that my lid is going to seal nicely when I am done canning these. While I'm doing that, I can also check my jars to make sure there's no cracks or chips in them, just again to make sure that these jars are sealing and I'm not wasting my time. Once I have these are all jarred up, I'm going to go ahead and get them in my canner. I'm going to bring that to a boil. This is in my canner with an inch of water over my jars. I bring that to a rolling boil and I'm going to boil that for 45 minutes. Then I just shut off the oven and leave it for a while to make sure that my jars are not seeping. This should give you a really good seal on your jars. I was really happy to get 6 quarts of beautiful tomato sauce all jarred up for future use. Opening one of those in January or February is going to be a taste of summer and it will be so lovely. Now, I found these peppers at a local market and they were on a really great sale, so I decided to jump on that and pick them up to be able to freeze and throw in my freezer for future use because we love to use these in certain dishes like chilies or tacos or anything like that. It's lovely just to pick out a bag of peppers from the freezer and throw in the skillet. I've mentioned before how much buying bulk at markets can save money comparative to grocery stores, and this is another great example. So if you go and buy a singular pepper at the grocery store, right now where I am, that will cost you $2 just for that one pepper. When I bought all of these in bulk, this came out to 30 cents per pepper, so a huge savings. And now buying in bulk, you're not going to be able to use them all at once. So that's why it's so important to learn how to preserve these. And peppers are so incredibly easy to preserve. All I do is cut them up into bite-sized pieces, the pieces that I'm going to want in my meals, and then I throw them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. You don't need to blanch them and you don't need to flash freeze them. Because they are chunky and they're fairly sturdy, they don't really clump together in a freezer bag. So you can just toss them in freely in a freezer bag and freeze them, and then just crunch them up and they'll come out normally in singular fashion when you're putting them in a meal. So it's just perfect. So for us, this is a great way for me to save a lot of money in the long run by preserving things in season, in bulk, and all local foods or foods that I've grown. It really does save us a lot of money. If you're looking for more frugal ways to save money around the house or how to preserve and garden for yourself, make sure you subscribe to my channel and follow along. I have an entire frugal homemaking playlist that I will attach here for all those extra ideas for you. Go ahead and check it out. It is full of great ideas of how you can save money around the house. By preserving like this, it means that summer is a very busy time for us. We are growing food, we are preserving food, but then during the winter we get to rest and we get to enjoy all of that hard work and all of the savings that it provides for us. And it really does help me to be able to stay at home with my kids so that we are living just on one income, and it helps out quite a bit. All of these peppers chopped up gave me 4 full Ziploc bags of peppers, and it is quite the blessing. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I hope you are having a wonderful and bountiful summer, and I will see you all next time.